Welcome to Tech Talk Nation, talking about the latest tech, industry news, and hot topics. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website at techtalknation.com.
Good evening and welcome to Tech Talk Nation. I'm your host, Matt Fitzgerald, and we have a show for you tonight. There's been a lot going on in the tech world in the last week, and we want to tell you all about it. So without further ado, I am joined once again by Mr. Ryan Eastman. Ryan, how are you today?
I am excellent. And you?
I am doing well. It's kind of been a weird week here because we were going to do the show yesterday, but had some issues getting everybody together. We were going to have Matt on the show tonight, but he is currently out, unfortunately.
Yep.
Um,
He is in Jeff Bezos's basement shining all of his shoes. It's unfortunate.
yeah, it truly is. But anyway, um, we have a lot of updates to get to as well, and I want to start out today with an update to the story, or more or less an interview we had with Mr.
The
Ryan,
ongoing saga.
the ongoing
Or no.
saga of the Pixel 6 and what
Oh, the other
that's.
ongoing saga.
Oh, I mean, this is an ongoing saga too.
There's a couple of them. Yes.
But anyway, so you said there was a software update released while we were talking a little bit before
There
we went on the
was.
air here. Um, so you want to go over that a little bit and just kind of
Yeah.
let us know what got fixed and some of the
I believe
pitfalls?
I got it Tuesday.
Okay,
And so far it has fixed my Bluetooth.
well, that's a plus.
It no longer breaks. When my headphones die, it doesn't shut off the entire Bluetooth system and the Bluetooth system gives up.
Mm-hmm.
It connects normally now. The way you select devices is still weird. That's fine. I can deal with that.
Right.
Now, since the update, whenever I get a notification, my entire screen goes black except for a small circle at the bottom.
Oh, really?
Yes. Google has not been having a good time with this.
Wow. I'm
It
I'm
seems like
surprised.
every time they try to fix it, it gets worse.
Mm-hmm.
They're having I'm sure there's a whole multitude of issues, but from like leaks and people talking about it, like they can't keep teams together, like no
Oh.
one's working efficiently, not at home, like
So
it's not a
kind
good
kind of what we
situation
were
for them.
theorizing last week, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, that was based off a lot. I was reading like leaks and like Glassdoor and all this other stuff about Google because I'm in job application mode, but
Speaking
yeah,
of which, if you're watching and
it's
you want a
not
wonderful computer engineer, but
Oh Lord.
yeah, definitely. Well, that's super interesting, and I hope they figure that out because
I
I
hope they get all the bugs out.
right,
It's
and you get
weird how
notifications a heck of a lot more than you switch Bluetooth devices.
yeah, I can deal with it, but it's really annoying.
So when the screen goes black, do you like lock the phone and it's fine, like good to go, or do you have to like restart
No,
it
it
or?
goes black for about the screen completely dims out except for this small circle at the bottom.
Okay,
And it's like graded into the circle, so it's some other animation that's getting used somehow. And then
interesting.
after like 3 or 4 seconds, it goes back to normal.
Huh,
And because like it's an animation down to the circle, and then
interesting.
an animation back.
Weird. Yeah, that's definitely
It's weird.
weird.
I'm getting more and more annoyed with every update because they're just managing to break more things.
Yeah, like I would definitely get annoyed too because like hey, you spent a lot of money for that phone. You were hoping it was working a certain way. They hyped it up to a T with all of the stuff they said about it. And it's really a shame that they
I,
kind of kind of didn't follow through, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, a lot of like the features they advertised are great and they work fine. It's just the lack of a stable OS and like the basic stuff correct, and then the
right.
features on top of it. Like all these bugs and all that is not what you want out of a Pixel device. A Pixel is supposed to be the shining example of what Android is and what Android's supposed to be, and it's not.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. So hopefully they get all that stuff fixed up, and you can have a workable phone because that's definitely something that if I were Google, I would fix those immediately because, like you said, that's the flagship, in theory, flagship
Oh yeah.
device for Android. So, like,
Like I said, I think they're a little scattered and they're having trouble getting everything in order. Their what's the word? Matriculation rate, I think is what it is insane along with the entire tech industry, to be honest.
right, definitely. Speaking of jobs in the tech industry, another follow up we have
Another
from
ongoing saga.
another ongoing saga we
This is what
have.
I thought we were talking about.
Yes. Another ongoing saga we have from last week is about that 19-year-old who turned down $5,000 from Elon Musk to stop tracking his private jet. Guess what happened? He actually got a job offer from Elon Musk. But here's the funniest part of the entire thing. He turned it down. So he turned the job offer down um, because, as he puts it, where is it? I already work for Uber Jets and I'm on an NDA, so I can't really take it. What? Number one, I didn't
I
know
don't.
Uber Jets was a thing. Number two, uh, okay,
I don't think Uber Jets is the thing. I think he's memeing.
is that like? I'll look it up. Is that actually a thing?
I don't think that's a thing. I think he's just
Uber Jets,
the
or
most
actually,
disciplined and dedicated, like prankster slash troll I've ever seen.
oh my
Just the
gosh,
discipline and dedication. It's a thing.
it's a thing. It's a
Oh, he
thing.
might not be joking.
Here's their website. It's not like the Uber the company, but it's like a, a a company to like actually fly you places. Oh, and that's right. I remember reading about this in an article somewhere where it was a like this is a new trend now. Instead of people getting private jets themselves, they basically do something like this where it's almost like a timeshare on a private jet. So, in all for all intents and purposes, this guy could actually be working there
He
and
might he might be serious. That would explain why he knows all this stuff about tracking jets.
right. I mean,
Maybe.
yeah.
It's still the kid's still I admire the dedication, I gotta say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's going all the way for the meme there, that's for sure. But sure.
All that the only option he has now because of this internship move is you either offer him the Tesla or you walk.
hmm I'm just interested. What does it show for the membership? The membership of Fly Uber Jets. What does that cost? $14,500 just to be a member to be able to book flights.
Oh yeah, I'm not surprised.
Wow.
When once you get to the point where you're trying to book a private jet, you're already up there. This is just, it's like what's the word? Basically, it's for millionaires instead of billionaires.
Yeah, yeah.
Billionaires get their own private jet. The millionaires rent a private jet.
There you go. There you go. But that's funny. Well, anyway, glad that it seems like it's figured out. And uh he blocked all social media over the weekend. Elon Musk blocked all social media accounts linked to this guy. So rip. Um, but whatever.
Love it. This kid is dedicated, I gotta say.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Let's see. The other article we have here is Ryan, you sent this one in. According to
Oh,
NASA, this engine could reach 99% the speed of light. So
yeah.
you want to take this one, or you want me to explain
I
it?
will attempt to explain
Okay,
how.
perfect.
So, the prerequisite knowledge I'm going to ask for people to just accept is when you move something really, really, really fast, almost to the speed of light, it gets heavier.
Yes.
So when you move something absurdly fast, it increases in mass somehow.
Okay.
It's one of the weird cases with special relativity and all that, which allows mass to change at high speeds. It's really strange. The way the guy describes it as like his kind of mental picture for how the engine works is you take uh, basically a weight and put it on a string. On either end of the string, there's springs. So you can bounce the weight back and forth. And in a closed system, it'll just normally bounce back and forth without doing anything. But when one side is like almost to the speed of light, it gets heavier as it comes in. And when it goes to the other side, if it's still normal, it'll cause force to move the object a little bit and nudge it over.
Okay.
So he has come up with this weird, crazy idea to just accelerate particles almost to the speed of light and use that kind of weird phenomenon where they're changing in mass to create force to try and make a space engine.
Okay.
I love it. That's my favorite, like, weird physics thing is when you move stuff really fast, they get heavy.
For sure. But there is one caveat on this, and we were talking about this
A
a little
couple
bit
caveats.
beforehand. So in the article here, let me find where it said it right here. Um, it would need to generate 165 megawatts of energy to produce 1 Newton of thrust. That's the equivalent of a power station to produce the force required to accelerate a single kilogram of mass per second squared. So a lot
Yes.
of input for, as they put it, a teeny tiny output. So yeah, that's a
But
but okay,
it can theoretically go 99% the speed of light, which is pretty good.
right. And we did some napkin math before coming into
Yeah,
the
we
show
did
here.
napkin math. What was it? It was so normal nuclear material, it will produce about a megawatt a day per gram. So
So
with 24 grams of fissile material, you can do 24 megawatts a day. So theoretically enough to move it 24 newtons a day.
nice.
The other caveat with the machine is it has to be, I believe, 200 meters long.
Yes.
And it's called a helical engine, I guess, is the name of it because of the shape of it. I guess the shape has to be that way because of how ions behave or something.
Above my pay grade.
I am not a particle physicist, but it has to be
Correct.
200 meters long and 12 meters in diameter. So
Okay.
those are the two trade-offs. So it's not exactly small. I don't
Right.
even know how to guess how much that would weigh, so how much acceleration you get and how long it would take.
Yeah.
But eventually, you can
Right.
theoretically eventually hit the speed of light.
There you go. There you go. If anything else on the ship doesn't disintegrate before that point, but I
Yes.
digress. Speaking of things disintegrating, SpaceX just lost 40 satellites that they just launched due to
Yeah.
a geomagnetic storm. Basically, long story short, what wound up happening is on February 4th, 40 satellites uh, were launched into orbit. A bad solar storm came, knocked them out of orbit, and they re entered the Earth's atmosphere prematurely and rip. So,
Yeah, that's and oh man, I Starlink is such a cool, I guess, solution, I guess, for internet too, because there's enough places where no one wants to run like a fiber line or just even a good line out to them. So just you slap a satellite on yourself and you have internet.
right.
My only thought when I read this was, how did Bezos do this? Because he has a well-known fight, I think, with SpaceX and Elon about this, about how he's mad about all the Starlink satellites and how it makes it hard for him to put satellites up there. And then convenient, very convenient, a magnetic storm knocks out 40 of them.
Hmm.
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 How did you do it, Bezos? That's all I want to know.
How did you do it indeed? That's definitely a good question there. But one of the other interesting things that it said too is this may become a more um, prevalent thing here with this article from the MIT Technology Review here. Um, Basically was saying that due to the way the sun's working and stuff like that, these may become more common, and that may be a problem with these mega constellations and these big satellites and stuff like that. So um,
Yeah.
it's kind of
It's
cool,
kind it's cool. It's also kind of hard to figure out and predict, stars are not exactly simple objects and all that.
right? And
Like the sun goes through all these phases. I think it goes through phases where it heats up and cools down.
I don't even
Things get
understand it.
yeah. It's I'm what do you call it? Ask Alan, the nuclear
for
engineer we know.
for
I'm
sure,
sure he's gonna be the one with the closest idea.
right? Like somebody who knows because the sun is just a big ball of nuclear. So
Yeah, just a big ball of nuclear fusion.
yep, fun. So let's see. Next story we have for you today is the Galaxy S22 Ultra was
Mm,
released, and it is
exciting.
supposedly, according to ZDNet, pretty awesome so far. And Ryan, you
Yeah.
sent this one in. Want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. It doesn't even take that long to talk about, to be honest. It seems mostly like it's going to be some boring time right now for smartphones. Apple's last iPhone, they just did some mild updates to the camera. This mostly looks the same way. They've done some mild updates to the camera. They've tweaked the AI in it a lot to make it better. Uh, I think the last generation one was the first one with the 100 times zoom. This carries it over. The only like really notable thing, other than like your standard year-over-year upgrade, which is just slightly better chip, maybe some other colors or storage options, is that the S22 Ultra has a slot for the pen.
Interesting.
So everyone who's looking at it, I think more or less is basically side-eyeing this and being like, "Wait a minute, this is just a note. This is a note. We
Right.
all we all know what this is."
Wait a second. Didn't those have a really bad thing that happened to them? Hmm.
They may have decided that's a reason for rebranding. They may have been trying to differentiate their Ultra, uh, Samsung Galaxy, whatever branding, and they decided, oh, we'll do that with the S Pen.
There you go.
But I mean, it's
I
hard to
guess.
fault them. I think everyone who uses it pretty much loves that pen. What
Right.
I'm actually more excited for is a whole line of tablets they released with it, which are, as far as I know, the only non-Apple tablets that are like really good and really strong.
Interesting.
Like they just don't. I don't think another manufacturer really makes Android tablets like that anymore.
Hmm.
I'm sure there's some cheap ones all around, but I can't think of like
Right.
another just mainline one. Everyone who's like a computer manufacturer who's doing it before is just doing Chromebooks.
Exactly. Exactly. And because that's just kind of where there's a
Yeah.
bigger market right now.
And yeah. And Android just announced or released, I guess, their beta for what they call Android 12L, which is their
Interesting.
large format Android for tablets and all that.
Hmm.
So they're even
Cool.
starting to re-support it finally, honestly, after however many years they've been leaving manufacturers to do it themselves.
Right.
But another interesting thing about the event itself was they hosted it, or at least they hosted part of it in the metaverse.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, it was in some it was like a Korean server or something called like Decentraland or something like that for people to like exchange and trade NFTs, and all these people had all these issues getting in, and there was all these technical problems with it, which you expect when you start doing. I don't even know concretely what the metaverse is supposed to be, other than a loose like word that people are using for all like the VR things people have put out.
Right. That's for sure. And it's interesting. I mean, I know Apple has their asynchronous keynote where you could basically just watch like a live stream similar to like
Yes.
the show, but this is like people going in and interacting as if they're in like a virtual auditorium basically, which is just kind of like
Yeah. It might be
interesting.
a next. but it kind of looks like Apple's VR OS name leaked.
Ooh, well,
They're not sure, but it kind of looks like it.
stay tuned for that one then. Uh, but speaking of the metaverse, um, this is an interesting take and kind of funny. Not gonna lie. Uh, Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse business lost more than $10 billion last year, and the losses keep on growing. So right here they have the year by year losses. So 4.5 in 2019, 6.62 in 2020, and 10.19 in 2021. And mind you, this isn't million. This is billion. Like, oh my gosh. Like that is absolutely insane. So I, I don't know like what to say here. Like they're just pouring money into this thing that's obviously not working.
Yeah, no, normal people don't want it.
Yeah, exactly.
I, I have a VR headset. It's cool. It works well for me. I've never had any issues with it. I don't
Hmm.
think a normal person wants that.
Yeah, like I don't want to have a second life. Having one life is hard enough. I don't want two.
Yeah.
So,
I could imagine an AR situation maybe
mhm,
where like you can almost have like localized like chat rooms when you're out in the world, but you can also do that with just a phone.
right.
It's hard to like think of a good use case that everyone would look at and be like, "Oh, that's awesome. Let's do that." Game people like VR games and they're fun. There's a couple really good ones, Space Pirate Trainer and all that, but
Right. Yeah.
it I think it's just, and I can't see it not remaining fairly niche.
Right, exactly. And it's the problem is though, I obviously it's like a dystopian situation, but you get into like Ready Player One uh type scenes there where it's like you don't have enough social credit, go to the VR labor camp and like what?
I mean, social media is already kind of that way, but
For sure. Well, speaking of Zuckerberg's social media, he's feeling
one,
the hurt on that.
one,
Oh, what?
one last bit. There is one
Sure.
thing that could, I think, mainline it, and that is Apple.
Ooh, yeah, good point.
If Apple is genuinely making a VR headset and they're going to come out with it, I could see a million people who would never have done it in a million years just hopping on it because Apple's doing it, and because I mean, for all the criticism I have and will continue to lob at Apple over the years, uh, they make slick UIs that are easy to use and easy for people to understand.
Wow. An Apple compliment in Ryan's
I know that's
long.
rare. Mark it down on the calendar.
Yeah, really. What is it today? But um, yeah, definitely. And if Apple does make a VR headset or their own version of the metaverse, which would be ironic because then at that point you'd have three lives, I guess. Because
I'm sure
there's
you could tie it all together. Facebook would be an
oh
app underneath
there's
the Apple
there's
platform.
no way in heck that they'd work together and have like a centralized virtual world. Like there is no way.
I don't know.
But hey, we're all speculating. I tell you one thing that's not speculating here, and that is Mark Zuckerberg's business. Oh, that's the same article. It's this one. Facebook lost $232 billion in one day after that metaverse announcement. $232 billion in market cap in one day of trading. Like, wow.
I think it was the rough day for everyone as that day, but still, that's a number.
Right.
It kind of seemed they might have got hit worse than a lot of other people, but that same day,
So the previous record
everyone got
for
hit.
market cap lost in one day was Apple losing $182 billion of market cap in a day in 2020, but this just shattered that, like by far. So,
Yeah,
and it's interesting too because um, the basically the way that they were talking about this is what the metaverse has been perceived to shareholders as is the new way to sell ads and the new way that people can make money through this platform where we're going to give you an immersive experience. We're going to be make you stay online so you can look at more ads. And that's how they gave it to their shareholders. And when they saw these massive, massive losses for the platform and it only getting worse and
Oh,
worse, uh, a lot of investors were just like, nope, and just pulled their stock. And I don't know.
I'm no financial advisor, but I might go buy some Facebook stock.
I
Just
mean,
because I don't think realistically that loss will hold. But,
it's
you know,
already starting to back up a bit.
yeah, it's all speculation. That was also the day the crypto market crashed, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right too. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, a share lost roughly $100 since then. So
that
per
smells
share,
like opportunity to me.
there you go. But
It's whatever.
yeah, definitely. So that's kind of all we got on a lot of money that got lost there. You know who else is hopefully going to lose a lot of money? Google, because our
Mm.
alma mater has decided to sue them because, um, yeah, so Purdue University is suing Google over some power management technology that a professor on campus developed in 2012 and patented. Since then, that code has become a core part of Android Studio and has been compiled into all of the apps that it produces. Therefore, almost every app that's made through Android
Ooh.
Studio has this bit of code on it that a Purdue professor wrote, um, and Purdue isn't happy about that. Um, I don't blame them. So their lawyers are suing Google. And it's interesting too, because they said the suit against Google was filed after a year-long pre-suit investigation that revealed Google's willful infringement of multiple Purdue Research Foundation patents. Purdue attempted for weeks to set up a meeting with Google, but when they refused reasonable conditions, Purdue was left with no option. So we'll see where it goes.
An application in it, Google. I hope this doesn't hurt my chances.
There you go.
I mean, you can't steal code.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but it's more about credit. In this case, they did patent it and all that. I don't know. Congress hands out code patents a little strangely because they don't understand it. Or not Congress, the
The Patent and Trademark
patent office.
Office. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But near as I can tell, because I think I remember reading about this a few years back at least, when they were making progress on it still and all that. It seemed fairly new to me, so it seems like it's probably going to be a legitimate suit.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And you can't
So
steal. You just can't.
so if you were in Google's shoes, what would you do? Would you take this through, or would you settle out of court?
That's a good question. I'm not a lawyer. Google has probably 20 teams of lawyers on at all hands. So maybe they feel pretty confidently that they can get it in jurisdiction favorable to them and that they can win there. But I honestly have no clue.
Interesting. Yeah, personally, if I were the CEO of Google and like if this stuff is concrete, like you can't win it, I'd just be like, all right, here's a boatload of money. Keep
Yeah,
giving us
here's a really good
graduates.
patent. Yeah, here's a good patent deal. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, like here's uh and if I were the university too, I would almost be like, we can license this to you for a lot of money, and then you
Yeah,
give us either a lot more money, or we can just kind of have a mutual agreement to hire people or something along the lines of that.
I don't think Purdue University cares that much about getting graduates hired. I think it probably would have just been a good licensing deal, which would have been the intelligent thing.
True, true. But Purdue doesn't care that much about graduates getting hired.
I mean, their patent office isn't going to go to bat, you know?
Fair, fair.
That's what I mean. Like, their whatever office that handles all that
It's
obviously
the
cares.
yeah, it's the Office of
But the patent office,
Technology
their job is
Commercialization.
to
Hmm.
keep all the patents that give Purdue money going.
Right.
And that's their first priority, obviously.
There you go. Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. Definitely will be a fun saga to watch. So cool. Hope I'm I foresee a new building on campus in the future, as if there isn't one
Let's just call
already.
it Google's apology building.
They need to put like a little plaque in it. This building was funded by this lawsuit. Google Google sends their sincere condolences.
That would be a really funny name for the building if that's just what they put on the top was Google apology building.
I still stand by. If I were to ever finance a building at a campus, I'd want to make it the stupidest name I could possibly make it,
Oh,
like Joe's Learning Shack or something like that. Like, I think that would be
don't
funny.
just give it a silly name.
Yep, Joe's Learning Shack. Here we go. But alrighty, so we're on to our last article for today, and you may be wondering why we have the episode title of Car Bricks. And I'll be honest, this is what I thought of like a minute before we went on air, so that's the best you got today. But it actually has a lot of merit because a a radio station in Seattle uh, bricked some Mazda infotainment systems. So what wound up happening was the local NPR station in Seattle, 94.9 FM. What they did is they sent out a album art uh, over the airwaves that Mazda and a lot of other infotainment systems pick up and display on the little screen there, basically showing the album art and the name and the artist and all that stuff. Well, anyway, there was a bug in the Mazda firmware to where they sent out the image without the file name. So instead of an image like picture.jpg or picture.png, they just sent picture. And that broke the Mazda infotainment systems like completely. Like a full out replacement needs to happen. And the problem is it costs $1,500 to replace that infotainment system. Long story short, Mazda apologized for the issue. They talked to the provider, figured out what the issue actually was, and then kind of were just saying, well, we're going to replace this for you free of charge. But I'm just like, wow, how does that happen?
Ah, I misread this the first time. I thought this bricked the entire car.
No, it was just the radio, and it forced the radio to stay on that station, which is kind of funny.
Maybe that was their like genius idea.
Aha, there you go. Now we have listeners forever.
Everyone has to listen.
Right.
It's that just feels bad. That's just some people did not like thoroughly test and design this system.
Right. And
And that's one of the issues that's going to get eventually coding for like anything serious regulated. And I don't like that.
right. And it's a really interesting issue that came up too, because Ryan and I both took some of the same classes at Purdue where they ran your code through automated tests. And they
Yeah.
didn't tell you what the tests were. They didn't tell you how, like, what was wrong with them or anything. It just said you passed 30 out of the 45 tests. And it was up to the programmer to figure out what those edge cases were and what the problems were. And obviously, they didn't do that here because what,
No.
yeah. And from my understanding, the way their code worked is they were reliant almost completely on that file name as being there. But
And I get why.
I get why. Yeah, it
That's
works. Why change
obviously
it?
the first thing you do is you're like, oh yeah, naturally they're going to send the file name, so we're just going to look at that and make our decision on that. But they didn't even write, I guess, proper error handling or whatever they're using for these systems
Right.
to deal with the case where they send you the wrong thing.
Right. Like it doesn't gracefully reject the image or prevent it. From what it sounds like, basically what happens is that image is
File without it, you would just throw an exception and like flush the memory and write error on the screen normally.
right. Or just don't show that part. Just treat it as, oh, this is invalid, kaput.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and just don't show the album art. But in this case, what they did is they made that so it's obviously stored somewhere in memory, and that memory probably wound up corrupting other things within the operating system. And that's insane to me because there's several ways that you could prevent this exact same thing from happening, and checking the different systems. You could check what's called the MIME type on the file, where some header information says basically the contents of the file. And that's actually a way that people hide things and stuff like that on computers. They just change the file extension, but that MIME type still shows what the file contents actually are. So yeah, but that's definitely interesting. And
It's
as
difficult, you know,
right, and I'm sure as a
especially car.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, no, no. I'm just saying, like, as a car manufacturer, I think they struggle to get good coding talent
True. Yeah, they're
because
not.
you have to snap good coders out of the hands of, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, all these huge companies that they aggressively market that, and that's where most people who know how to code well want to work.
Right.
It's as a car company or an industrial company, it's harder to get like really good like coders and computer engineers into your company.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like, well, I could go be working on some AI stuff at Google or the Metaverse at Facebook, and then they're like, oh, here's an infotainment system for a 2021 Mazda. Like, here you go. Like the code hasn't changed much in like 5 years, but make it better.
Most people's, oh man, most companies, they're just whatever their infotainment systems, terrible.
Yes.
They have to completely redo the UI, how they work, how efficient they are. It's a mess.
Right. And we talked about that a little earlier with the kind of the integration between CarPlay and the hardware as a whole. Like there needs to be a significant step up there in general for that to even be
Oh
worthwhile. So
yeah. Yeah. I mean, genuinely, I'd rather have like nothing but basically like an Android or excuse me, for me, Android Auto for an iPhone CarPlay than whatever software they're packaging on their thing because I know the UI is going to be terrible. It's not going to work very well or very fast. And I know the opposite's going to be true for the other things.
right, right. But it's one of those things too where that harkens right back to the issue. It can't be better if they don't have the talent, and if they don't have
Yeah.
the talent, like they're just going to stick with what they have because it's cheaper and more efficient. Um, so I don't know, just get people amped up about working on cars, I guess. I mean, personally, if I was in the auto field, like if I was a person who would do like work in the auto industry and stuff like that, I would totally go for some embedded system stuff, or like the factory automation and at least. So,
Mm-hmm.
but such is life. Mazda's fixing it, and hopefully they have learned from their mistake. Who knows what other bugs are in there, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of testing that's going to go on now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I'm sure every other car company is looking at this and sweating.
Yep. Especially that car from 2006 that had that cutting edge technology, and then kind of being like, "Welp, that's out there." Ugh. But oh well, what are you gonna do? Another day, another issue, right? Right.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, with that, I think that's all the stories we have for today. like to thank Ryan for being on again. Um, Hopefully next week we'll be on a more normal schedule in terms of kind of when we're doing our show and stuff like that. It's going to be kind of nutso, but it happens. Um, and feel free to follow us on social media. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Visit our website, which is newly updated, as well as call our comment line, which is brand new. And if you have any information or want anything else from the show, just let us know, and we're definitely interested to hear it. So, with that, I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you, Ryan, for joining, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Tech Talk Nation. Tune in next week for more discussion on the latest in tech.